Hi and welcome to the Forever Grind. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew Tecchio, and this is the lovely
Angela Brown.
This is our first podcast, as far as I know. We do this in our sleep.
Yeah, well, it's the first one we've hit record on.
Oh, technically it's the second one we've hit record on. The first one, well, we don't talk about that. But it was just testing, you know. Anyways, we thought we'd start this podcast off by just letting you know who we are and why we're doing this and why we love games.
Yeah. So I guess we thought that maybe people might be interested in our hot take on things, and I'm very ready to be proven wrong because I think I'll be wrong. But
I'd never try and prove you wrong.
Yeah, so get ready for hot doses of gender roles for sure. And
I'm gonna what's the word? Circumvent. No, not circumvent. I'm gonna change expectations. There's a word and I can't find it.
Right.
What is it?
I don't know. It's called getting off topic in the first minute of the podcast. But I guess we're getting older in the games, in kind of the gaming industry demographics. We're coming into the top bracket of, but we were there, I guess, when games started, really. I mean, you were playing them and you had a computer and you had consoles before anyone I know, that's for sure. And I didn't have them, but I wanted them. But by the time I had enough money, I bought them all. But, you know, we've loved games since we were kids, and we still do. And now we have a child who loves them too. And so I guess we have the take of loving games since we were kids, but now, you know, what does it look like now, I guess, in this day and age? And then with your own children, and how do you tackle gaming topics and ideas and things like that when you've got kids? And then when you're married and all you seem to do is talk about this kind of stuff and no one understands what they're saying half the time, I guess, except for people who are into gaming.
Yes.
I mean, make much sense?
You always make perfect sense.
Right.
I'll just give a quick rundown. I think you covered it pretty well. I can remember my first gaming console that came home, my parents brought home, and, you know, it just plugged into your TV and it played various versions of Pong. That was great. I remember going to the arcades as a kid. I remember getting a NES for the first time, or an Atari 2600. And so my love of games has just been throughout the ages. Didn't matter whether it was console or if it was PC or, you know, whatever. I just love games and I love talking about them. And I've talked so much about them to you that I need to talk to the rest of the world now about them.
And we think you might be interested.
I've got things to say, and I'm hoping there's at least one person out there that wants to hear it. Because you might have been sick and tired of hearing it by now.
Oh, look, that's all right. Well, as you can tell, we're married. We've been together for a long time. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff we talk about amongst ourselves.
Yeah, and so we're hoping that, you know, we can talk about what games are coming out, what things we've been playing, games that are important to us, or things that we see around games that are interesting. Just our kind of take on video games in general. We don't have a particular niche that we want to focus on. You know, we want to talk about it all.
Yeah. And, you know, we're going to do some fun segments and things like that, you know, and we'll talk, you know, we'll touch on game news. We'll touch on our views, what we think, the kind of stuff we're playing, what we think is good, what we think is rubbish.
I've got strong feelings on that.
Yeah. You know, what we're observing even as our kid plays games and how the next generation consume gaming. So we'll talk about all kinds of things.
And you've got a few good stories to tell. You've had some interesting experiences along the way.
I have. I've worked in video games, so I'm the only one who's worked in it. You've played in
I've
video
played
games
in video games a long time.
And you're a video game champion.
Oh, yeah, let's not.
But I have worked in
let's
video
not throw
games
words around.
just for a little bit. Yeah. So
That's great. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess that's our learned perspective. Is that we do have some learned perspective behind us, I guess. Yeah.
So, we'll have some regular reoccurring segments. We'll talk about news, for example. So maybe we should jump right into it and talk about gaming news. I'll throw over to you first. Do you have anything that you know that's going on that you want to talk about?
Well, for news-wise this week, this is where you come in because you spend around, I don't know, maybe 8 hours a week consuming gaming news.
That's just called I'm sitting on the couch and I just don't want to do anything. That's not necessarily... She's not wrong, but yeah.
But you have been playing Final Fantasy this week.
I have.
So it came out about a week ago, and yeah. It's
a good game. It's a good game. There you go. There's my racist take for this week. I am Italian. I get to do it.
I'm not, so I don't.
No, but
unless I say I'm being Super Mario, and then it's okay.
I wasn't being Mario. I was just being a caricature. Yeah, in my kind of. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, I've been playing Final Fantasy 16. I think I have played all 16 of them, so I have an opinion here. I like it better than the last one. They've obviously gone for a more... they've focused it more on Western tastes. I know that's a catch-all phrase, but they've dropped the turn-based stuff. So it's sort of like 15, where it had an open world where you could go around and you can actively participate in fighting. It's even gone down more that path now.
So there's no endless fetch quests?
Oh, mate, there are so many fetch quests, but I want to tell you that I skip the dialogue on all. I don't generally skip dialogue in RPGs and stuff like that. Like I could play Mass Effect again today, and I won't skip the dialogue because I enjoy the banter, right? But I got to the point now where I will watch every single little bit of cutscene when it's related to the grand, epic, overarching story. But every single little cutscene where someone wants me to get some recipe ingredients, or please travel here and kill these 3 items, kill these 3 enemies and bring back these 3 items. Skip, because they just talk. It's like they said, hey, we've got this whole Blu-ray disc, we need to fill it with audio. So just keep talking into the microphone until you're done.
I think there's still someone somewhere who says, well, why on earth would I go out and get a pink onion from this town 3 kilometres away? What's the purpose? And so I think they write lots and lots of backstory to try and make it seem realistic.
So what you're saying is it's basically just like Uber Eats.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to go and do it myself, so I'm going to ring this hero of whatever, world that we're in, and I'm going to send the hero out to get my Maccas and come back.
Yeah, basically. But then they'll say, I'm making a potion, I've got to make this potion for my sick mother, so I need green leaf. I need 3 green leaves and 1 pink onion.
You'd hate for them to say, hey, can you go get 3? You come back and they're like, oh, actually, I need a 4.
No, but they do that, though.
Oh.
They do that, though. How often do they go, and now, there's a second part to the quest, The second part is, that was really good, but now I need to make it better because actually my mum's taken a turn for the worse and she's going to die, so...
Oh, rough. That escalated quickly.
It always does. It always does.
But the game itself, very beautiful. They obviously spent a lot of time and effort on the visuals. The soundtrack is superb. The battle system, like I said, it's more action-based. It feels kind of like a Devil May Cry or a Ninja Gaiden. Ninja... You know what I'm talking about.
I think that's our first thing we can throw out to people.
What?
We're going to give you our email address at the end of this podcast. Tell us if you pronounce it Gaiden or Gaiden.
No, there's got to be a right way. Like some Japanese person will tell us.
Yeah, because I've always said Gaiden. But I don't know that that's the right way. Because what is a Gaiden?
It's a side story, isn't it?
Is it? It's an actual Japanese word?
Yeah, it's a term, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's like a story or a lore, like myth or something like that. I don't know. It's like a side story, I thought.
I'm trying to think of
Gaiden.
Gaiden.
Yeah. I don't know.
I learnt something today.
Anyways, there you go. So I'm really enjoying it. I think they could have. I think they've put all these fetch quests in because they feel they need to pad for an RPG. You know, there has to be fetch quests and whatnot.
I love fetched quests. I think we enjoy them. I think that's why they put them in there.
I don't know, because literally
You've got to level up
fast
somehow.
travelling somewhere, killing 2 monsters, and fast travelling back. Yeah, you level up, but
It's the hokey mechanism for leveling up, and we love it.
I love leveling up.
Oh, I love yeah.
I do love a bit of
I don't know. You don't like grinding though.
What are you talking about? I'm happy to grind.
No. You're like, get through the story as quick as possible. I want to fight this monster. You will always want to fight a boss or a monster when he's under-leveled, just to prove you can do it.
That's hearsay. This is hearsay.
It's legit.
It's real. Speculation, Your Honour. And
every time. And then he'll do it over and over again until he does it.
No.
I'm the opposite. I will grind until I go into that boss battle and I don't have to sweat.
But see, the great thing with this game is it's very much an action-based game, so you don't need to grind as much. You could just learn the patterns and fight and stuff. Obviously, I tried fighting some, you know how sometimes in these games you can fight optional bosses that are really powerful? I tried fighting one of those a couple of days ago, and I was doing really well. I got it down to about half, and then it hit me once, and I died. And I was like, oh, okay, obviously I was not meant to fight this right now. So
yeah, I hear that phrase a lot when you're playing RPGs. I wasn't meant to fight that right now, but I did.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to overcome adversity. It's life.
I guess. I'll go fight them later. Yeah.
So, Final Fantasy, fantastic. We have some really good games that have come out this year.
We've played a few in the last
it's been a good
6
time.
weeks or so.
The Star Wars game was really good. What else have I played? I don't know. What have you played? Let's talk about you. What are you playing right now?
Oh, well, I was playing this.
Soul Hackers 2.
Soul Hackers 2. That was a while ago. So we got from PlayAsia a copy of Etrian Odyssey, the HD remastered collection, which is Etrian Odyssey 1, 2, and 3. So the first Etrian Odyssey was... Actually, no, the first 3 were for the DS, I'm pretty sure. They didn't hit the 3DS until 4 onwards, I think. I'm trying to remember.
And explain what they are to people.
Oh, look, it's not for everyone.
That's okay.
Not for everyone. It's a dungeon crawler, and it's the that kind of first-person view, first-person Doom-style view. And it's literally like Doom. But, you know, with vines and plants. So you're walking through a labyrinth. It's a dungeon crawler. You go through a labyrinth and, you do some quests. And really the main aim is to go through deeper into the labyrinth.
There's a lot of mapping that goes on, a lot of cartography.
That's the unique part of Etrian Odyssey is you map it yourself. And I've had to learn how to obviously draw the maps, where the main conceit with the DS is that, it had its own pen. Whereas now on the Switch, it does not have its own pen, and so I've had to learn how to do it with a controller, and that was a bit weird, but we got around it. But yes, you do your own mapping, and I don't know what it is about that, but it's very satisfying.
I get it. It's a game in the line, in the likes of Eye of the Beholder, really going way back there. In that, it's not like when you turn, you don't smoothly turn. Like, it's not like you can look around the world.
No, it's like not true 3D.
You're going down a tunnel, and then you turn left or right, and then you just keep going.
Absolutely,
it's really interesting.
It's
really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's clearly an old DS game. It's there's not much sparkle and polish to
the music.
The music is fun because it does take you back to. It's like got classic, kind of Japanese RPG style music in it, and there's not much of a story to it. But admittedly, there's a bit of intrigue. Why on earth would you traverse a labyrinth at all? And they're just like, well, just do it for the fun of it, man. No one's done it before.
David
Don't
Bowie's
you want glory? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But, there is a bit of mystery and intrigue around what is at the centre or the bottom of the labyrinth, I guess. So
I want to know. You're going to tell me when you get there?
I can't
No,
I'll tell you when I get
there now, yeah.
Yeah, so I did play the original Etrian Odyssey on DS, and I'm pretty sure it came out around maybe 17. Actually, no, maybe 16 years ago. I think it came out on the DS and I did play it. And then I played every iteration after that. And as they got better over the years, and the 3DS ones got really, really fun. And so I have them all, except for those early DS ones. So that was nice to get a little package from Hong Kong. Because unfortunately the HD remasters were not released in a physical version here in Australia, so we had to get them.
It's like the old days, really. Like when you get an RPG released in America, if you were lucky, and then it would just never come out here.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like with this kind of stuff. So while we were in Japan recently, we saw that it was coming out, and I got mega excited. Only for it to not get a physical release here, and I thought, well, no, we can't have that. So we got a copy imported from Hong Kong because it has an English translation. So there we go. I didn't miss out. So I'm playing 1. I don't know if I'll play 2 and 3 again because it's really just more of the same. Not till 4 they don't really start adding enhancements to it, like different things that you can map with and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that in our family, we all kind of play different kind of games. There are genres that cross over. Like we all like RPGs to a certain extent. Not our son. He hasn't reached that age yet.
Not quite.
I reckon he will eventually, once he gives it a shot. But
he loves Zelda. So he's really, really enjoying...
he approaches that as an open world game. Though.
Yeah, he does. I think he approaches...
Or a puzzle game.
He likes open world games because he can do what he wants. He likes he loves
killing those hookers in Grand Theft Auto, right? I'm kidding.
I have no doubt that you enjoyed that.
I did not. I never once killed a hooker.
Come on, everyone has except
I am not a crook. I've never once killed a hooker.
Everyone killed a hooker to steal the money. So you pay the hooker and then kill her and then take your money back? Isn't that? Yes, terrible. That's why everyone did it. It's just to have the feeling of being able to take your money back.
Terrible.
I witnessed it many times.
I didn't do. You didn't witness me.
I didn't witness you.
See?
That's true.
Hey, come on.
But no, he wouldn't do that. He's not like that.
No, he wouldn't pay them in the first place.
But he likes open world games because he can do his own thing and he doesn't like being told what to do in the story. So he likes Zelda because he can follow the story, but really it's just a means to an end. He just wants to unlock enough of the world so that he can just explore. Yeah, and he does like shrines, so he really digs that. So there's elements of RPGs he likes, but not. He just likes being given a palette, really.
It's interesting because I think kids, they obviously hear what their friends are playing, and so he's more interested in playing certain more bite-sized games like your Piku Nikus and
with his friends.
And stuff like that.
Got to go the other day.
Whereas you think about it, or I think about it, and I go, well, we have so many games across so many systems and such great games, and you'll say to him, hey, why don't you play this? And he'll just be like, nah, it doesn't interest me. And that's cool. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I guess they just consume games differently. And everyone has a personality and a taste, a style. But at least he's not sitting there going, "Oh, we'll only play Sony."
Oh yeah, I don't like this fanboy business. I never have. I mean, maybe I probably partook in it when I was a small child. Yeah, but it was interesting because I asked him. I said, "What's your favourite?" And he said, "Oh, Nintendo." And I said, "What about after that?" And he goes, "Sony." I'm like, "You've never played a Sony game?" And I think he said, "Oh, I played one." What was it? The Astro, whatever that came with the PS5.
The one that was packed in.
Yeah, which is a fun little game.
Which was fun,
but it's a real bite-sized tiny little tech demo, But he liked it, and it was cute, I guess. So, Whereas I think he's played more on the Xbox, but it as a brand, it hasn't got it in on him. Whereas Nintendo obviously is life thing.
I think the Sony brand perpetuates across generations because there's we'll say for convenience sake, there's dad, and then there's a son, and the dad says, we're buying you a Sony, and the son plays the Sony, and this is what a boy does. So I feel there's a gender element to Sony love. It's a fanboy thing. You know, it's because I think Sony's perceived as putting out games that connect with that kind of male 18 to 35 demographic. You know, shooting, racing, that stuff's going to change over time.
That's what Xbox used to be, the dude bro. Gears of War, look at my muscles, man.
I think Sony is dude bro. I think Sony's dude bro. Yeah. Nintendo's not dude bro, and I think
Nintendo is the dude broest. I'm telling you.
Mate, Link. Really, what he's doing.
I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to. Ganon, mate. You seen Ganon? He's swole.
Oh, he is swole.
He's swole.
Ganon's been chugging his protein shakes.
He lifts daily, and he never skips leg day.
Oh, never skips leg day. Never skips leg day.
But when I was a kid, you know, like there was no Sony, right? You're either a Nintendo boy or a Sega boy. Nobody was the Atari boy because that was dead.
Oh, Atari sucked. That's why. I think people pretended to like Atari because there weren't any other options.
When I was a kid, I played a lot of Atari 2600, and I can remember some of those games, and most of them weren't very good. But Asteroids was a great game.
Asteroids was good.
Space Invaders, for its time, was a good game. You'd go a bit crazy if you play that now.
I still play it. It's cathartic.
It's like the same thing over and over and over.
But it's cathartic.
Missile Command is a good game. You know, there were... River Raid is probably the best game on the Atari 2600. But, you know, there were some good games, but then there was gluts of trash. Yeah, like...
And then suddenly you play Super Mario and go, oh.
Yeah, there was a leap there of quality as well.
Oh, it's significantly.
And it's like games getting narrative. I mean, there's not much narrative to Hey Save the Princess, right? It's a bit trite, but it's more than, you know, I don't know, go through these barns in Barnstorming, you know, like, there was something.
Well, there was a true hero's journey with the original Zelda because there were significant challenges in your way that you had to keep pushing past, and it was while the game itself seemed non-linear, there really was a linearity to it that, you know, you knew that you had to bust your head through this section and it was going to be hard and you knew you had to get past it, you know, so there was there were challenges there that you had to overcome to progress the story.
That was the first one that had a save battery, wasn't
it? Yeah. Oh, man, we should test ours to see if the batteries...
That's right, we can always replace a battery. That's a great thing with those things, is the batteries lasted forever.
Yeah.
So speaking, like, we could talk about games forever, and that's why we have a podcast, right?
Because we talk too much.
I talk too much. She listens to me talk too much.
I talk a lot.
She humours me.
I talk lots as well.
No, you don't.
So does our son.
Oh, our son. One day we'll get our son on as a special guest, and we'll just walk away and just let him talk to you about something he's interested in. And that'll be your 7-hour podcast. But, look, we have played a lot of games in our time. We must have some that are a favourite contender. Like, what is the favourite game that we have ever played? Do you know what your favourite game is of all time?
Yeah, my favourite game is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, all the way. So a game that's come out in the last 12 months. Yes.
Before you tell us why, I want to just unpack that for a second. Do you find, because obviously you would have enjoyed the first Xenoblade and probably the second.
Very much.
Do you find that you are enjoying games more that are recent, or do you find that there are some older ones that still really, you can point at that and go, that is a favourite, that's...
It's that whole how much do graphics and technical performance impact your love of the game, I guess. And yeah, there's no doubt about it. You can't exactly bust out the original Final Fantasy and play it without going, like games have progressed.
That's why
and RPGs have progressed. Yeah, well, a pixel remaster and that will obviously
add quality of life to it. Yes.
It does, but inevitably it's still really the same very simple game. So would I pick that up? No, I wouldn't necessarily. But did I pick up 3 different iterations of the original Xenoblade Chronicles and suffer through what was clearly a game that wasn't built around its graphical, its look or its technical performance? And did I suffer through all of that to play that story and that game and the gameplay mechanics for that game? Yes, I did. And would I play it again? Yes, I would. Although maybe not actually because of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because it really is it's a game where they really have looked at the previous two iterations, but the first in particular, I reckon. And they've built on it, but they've made changes to make it more playable, but they've just enhanced it well beyond the original game. In fact, so much so that you get a good 80 hours into that game and then you'll get new things introduced and you're like, shit, I don't know that I can take on board in my tiny little brain any more skill trees, but they'll introduce one. But you also, and it's got lots and lots of these complex kind of leveling up skill tree type systems built in that you have to learn, how they work, and, collecting items, and then the items become this, or the items are for a quest, or the items, you fuse together to make gems, and then you have layers of gems, and then you can put the gems together, and it's just crazy. It literally is a JRPG on absolute steroids. So if you really like JRPGs, it's very hard to go past Xenoblade Chronicles.
But why is that the favourite?
Because I think the story for 3 is the best so far, because it's a natural closing of the Xenoblade Chronicles. It really is a trilogy. You just don't realise it till the third one. So the first one was its own standalone story, which was already quite complex. The second one came along and it was in the same universe, but it was, a different story. And then the third one was its own story, but then particularly with the DLC that came out a few months ago, it actually ties up the universe, and you can start to see how it all ties in together. And that's just, the story is mind blowing. It's actually so detailed; it's quite hard to follow. So if someone wants to set me up with a website that can help me unpack all of it, I'm up for it. But it's a magnificent story. And obviously, as time's gone on, the story's gotten better, the game's gotten more complex, and then, of course, the technical performance has improved as well to make it more enjoyable. And the game itself is enormous. I mean, you can't leave that game alive under 100 hours. You can't. So you get lots for your money. But you do. I felt quite deeply engaged in it the whole time. There was never a time where I go on board. There was always deep stuff to be doing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So if you didn't play the other two, is it still worthwhile playing the third?
Yeah, absolutely, because they change the elements like how you battle. They change. Look, they really are standalone. You can play them standalone. You don't. If anything, it's hard. It's actually hard to see the links in the story between the three, unless you've played all three. And you get all the DLC. You really have to find the threads, how they hang together. They don't really make it obvious. So if you're just one of these people that just wants to play through it, you can absolutely play each one on their own. But the DLC for 3 is really what actually made the links between the 3 stories obvious. If you don't get the DLC for 3, you won't see those links.
It's more standalone, yeah.
You have to really fight to see what the links are.
I know you love those games. So. The soundtracks are very nice too. I must say, I enjoy listening to those. The battle music and the overworld, especially in the first Xenoblade. I remember when you went out into the open world, it had a very beautiful song.
Yeah. The overworld design for all the Xenoblades are unbelievable and probably the highlight. So you can see why they would have brought them on for Zelda.
For the Wii, the first one was for the Wii, and it was actually a very good-looking game for the Wii.
For the Wii, It's hard to believe they did that for the Wii, and then they made a 3DS version, which I'm still a bit staggered as to how they managed to pack that game into that 3DS. I don't know how, but they made it happen. And it operated. It worked.
Well, I mean,
barely.
Super Mario Brothers is smaller than open up a Word document and just hit save, and the empty Word document is larger than Super Mario Brothers. So, with enough time and effort, people can make amazing things happen.
Yeah. But I like that because I have a particular fondness for JRPGs. They're probably the genre I play the most, and I think if you had to pick the best of all of them, that would be the best JRPG there is. And there'll be plenty of people who fight me on that. I know.
I would pay to watch them.
No.
I reckon you could take a few people out.
You reckon I should have taken that guy out who said that I like hardcore JRPGs?
Tell the story. Tell them. Tell the people. The people want to know.
The people want to know the story. What game was I picking up? So this must have been middle of COVID, maybe, I'm guessing, and I think stores had reopened. I'd just ventured back into the city, I think. And I went to the large EB games that used to be on Swanston Street.
Fire Emblem?
Maybe. Oh, no, it was more hardcore than that.
Oh, sorry.
Fire Emblem was not hardcore enough. But I did go in there. I had a game pre-ordered. Might have been a Shin Megami Tensei, possibly. Shin Megami Tensei 3. So yeah, it's pegging us about in the middle of the pandemic. But the store, I'd just returned to work, and I'd pre-ordered it, and I went to the store excitedly, which no longer exists, sadly. And I went to pick up a copy, and the guy was looking for the copy for me, and I was getting a bit anxious because I thought they wouldn't have one. And there was a guy who was standing at the counter, and these guys that stand at the counter in EB game stores. We all know these people. They stand there.
Else to be.
They have nowhere else to be, and they really want to occupy you in a bit of chit chat. And you see the dude or girl from EB is sitting there going, while this person's yapping on with all of their intense, deep fanboy knowledge of gaming, and their attempts to mansplain how gaming works to the person behind the counter, and one of those people was there, and I was just waiting for them to find my game, and then he saw what I was ordering. He was like, "Oh," and he said, "Oh, so you like hardcore JRPGs, do you?" And I was a bit taken aback.
She does, though. She likes the most hardcore of Japanese RPGs. Like, you play the games, you like turn-based strategy RPGs, your Fire Emblems and stuff like that. And looking forward to Persona Tactica.
Very much.
And Etrian Odyssey is quite the dungeon crawler, so you really are into...
I haven't minded dungeon crawlers over the years as well. Like, I really enjoyed the Pokemon dungeon crawler they had on the 3DS for quite a while there. What was it? Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which was the Pokemon version of the original Mystery Dungeon. I enjoyed those as well. Those ones where, time doesn't move unless you take a step. And that's what Etrian Odyssey is like. So I do like those games. But it's not like I wear a fucking T-shirt.
Wow.
Hardcore JRPGs
are
us. But he was being patronising, and I was a bit taken aback.
Hardcore Japanese RPGs are my favourite genre. Changed my mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm sitting on a seat. I just need a table here. Yeah. And, and that's the kind of bullshit that girls put up with when you like games all the time. But my dear husband here probably didn't realise how much shit I put up with until I came home and told him that story. And,
Well, to be fair, I think when we were younger, and it was a long time ago, I think that girls were less encouraged to play video games, unfortunately. It was seen as potentially a boy thing. I think that's definitely changed nowadays for the current kids growing up. But, I don't like people who are gatekeepers. No, I don't.
Yeah,
I like,
I know what I mean.
If you want to play You Draw all day long, go for it, right? I don't care. Like, visual novels, right? That's not a real... Like, the closest I've come to playing visual novels is probably the Phoenix Wright games, which are not true visual novels, right?
Yeah.
And I enjoyed those games. But there are certain genres that don't appeal to me, right? There are certain... Like, I don't play driving games. Strangely enough, I always buy Forza Horizon, and I enjoy those games. I love them.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I think it's because there's no... I don't think I want to play a game where I sit on a track and just go around in a circle over and over again. I like a game where I can get in the car and drive off something and smash some boards and stuff like that. And that was cool, because that was like Burnout Paradise was fun to me for some reason. Because you're just basically knocking cars off the road and having a good time, right?
So why Destruction Derby way back in the day was fun, because you were just smashing cars up.
But the motorsports simulator, where you've got to change the gears at the right time and tune the engine. And, you can do that in Forza Horizon if you really want, but it's not Forza Motorsports, right? I don't buy those ones. There are genres I'm just not interested in. My favourite game of all time is probably Mass Effect 2. Um, Potentially not the best story out of all the Mass Effects. The first one's probably got the better story. The third one's got the better shooting gameplay.
With the worst ending.
We don't talk about it. It never happened. It's fine. We don't talk about the ending. Um, we'll unpack that later. It's a game that can be very contained. You don't need to play the first one. You don't need to play the third one. You can come in and you can play the game, and the characters and the writing of the game. I haven't played a game that makes you have such a great time with such interesting characters, right? Garrus will be my bro to the end of time.
Garrus.
He was a dude. What a great little encapsulated story in the middle of a grander thing, where you know what you've got to do from the start. This is your mission. Your mission only lasts, a couple of hours of a 30, 40 hour game. But the entire getting there is meeting these people, convincing them to come along, getting to know them, helping them. Like, you spend your time, like, you don't have to help these guys, right? You can, all right, I want you to come and work for me. I'll give you some money, come along and work with me. We'll get to the end. But if you invest the time and the effort, it pays off at the end, right? Like, at the end, you're asked, hey, you're going on this suicide mission, and you're asked, who do you want to do this, and this? And if you've spent the time and the effort and built up their skills, and you know who to put in, right? So you go, all right, I know this person would be a really good choice for this, and I know a person would be. But if you don't do it, you can just go, well, this person, they're a commander. We'll put them in command of the thing. They might not be very good at their job, right? I have not played another game since that has made me feel that way. There was one moment in The Witcher 3 where I went on this quest, was called the Bloody Baron. It is the only game I have played that has told such a tight little narrative. And I really appreciate well thought out characters and well thought out story in my games. I don't need it. Like, I'm happy to play Shadow of the Colossus. It's a great game. Has bugger all story, right? People talk about the lore in all the Dark Souls games and stuff like that as being awesome, but they're not in your face, right? No. So I can play a game that has basically no story, just go kill things and get to the end. I'm happy. But that game there, it had the whole package. It came out at the right time, on the right system, with the right performance, with the right graphics. It was just a well-oiled machine, except for the boss at the end. We don't talk about that either. That seems like they got to the end and they were like, how do we make this, like, seem important? But you need to fight someone at the end, because in the first one, spoiler alert, in the first game, you get to the end, talk to the bad guy and tell him, hey, maybe you're the bad guy here. And he's like, oh, fuck, I'm the bad guy. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
But in the second one, they were like, we really need you to blow shit up. And I feel like they were in a hard place to put a last boss in. Everything up until that was great. Everything after the last boss to the end was fantastic. They made the stakes feel worthy. Your decisions felt like they mattered because it was life or death, and you take those decisions into the next game.
Yeah. I think the story in that game, I think it's the depth of story in that you feel like your choices actually matter. And they actually do deviate down. You can go down really detailed rabbit holes instead of it being this arbitrary choice. It's either you're left or right,
Well, it carries through from all the three games.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't stick the landing. Like, they might make something seem really important, a decision in the first game, and you get to the third game, and the decision really didn't matter.
Yeah. But that's part of the enjoyment of it, is that you don't know that at the time, whether or not you're making an important decision.
And that's okay. It's life.
But it's life. Thanks, Mass Effect. You've taught us everything about how to navigate life. Make a decision you think's important. As it turns out, it didn't mean shit.
Look, another thing about that game is, obviously, if you've played any of the previous games they put out there, whether it be Knights of the Old Republic or that other game. That other game that had, like, Chinese martial arts. Anyways, and Dragon Age Origins, that's a great game. Dragon Age, great games.
Yeah.
So if you
I
played
always
any
need
of
to play
those
that.
games, you should.
One day.
It's really good.
Do a remaster.
I don't know if they will. You know what you're getting into with those games, and I think they took those kind of things and they just polished it up a little bit and said, all right, we've taken all the lessons we've learned from storytelling. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were treated as a gamer with respect. I feel like games with detailed story like that allow you true choice, that also have a detailed story where, this is the thing that most JRPGs suffer from. Just dreadful story with tropes, but also, women in terrible costumes, bullshit tropey fantasy stories that follow the same pattern every single time. A girl who's a healer, a boy who's a warrior. Bullshit. Mass Effect had a cinematic story, I think, that felt like you really were navigating your own movie, I guess. And so it treats a gamer with respect, I think.
Yeah, and she's a female. And the female was a better voice character by
I
far than the man. The man, no offense, dude, I think you got better later on, but...
Nah. Girl Shepherd was best. And
look, she was fantastic.
If you'd like to also post your feedback on whether Girl Shepherd or Boy Shepherd was best, I'm sorry, Girl Shepherd was clearly the best in any way. Red-headed girls, come on. They kick ass. She was an ass kicker. I liked her. The guy was a bit more vanilla.
Yeah,
the girl had character.
He was very vanilla.
He was really
he didn't deliver his lines himbo.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt anyways.
Whereas the girl had like the voice actor was fantastic.
She's a good voice actress. So those are our favourite games. We do love lots of other games, and I like RPGs. I love Final Fantasy. I love Nier. I love Lufia 2. Play Lufia 2. If you've never played Lufia 2, you should play Lufia 2.
Do you mean Lufia 2 as it is known overseas?
Yes.
The actual
we only got
2?
one of them, so they just called it Lufia here. So
that's
Rise
a story
of
for another day.
Lufia 2. You Google it, you put it into the Googles, you hit enter. It's for the Super Nintendo. It was a late stage Super Nintendo game. It's fantastic.
I just thought you might have a copy of it right here.
I do.
You do have it here. It's here. This is the Australian version here.
For all you viewers at home.
For all the viewers at home, Lufia.
This is
or
the
Lufia
magic.
2.
This is the magic. You should play this because it had like a Pokemon kind of character you bring around and feed like stuff and all that kind of stuff before there was a Pokemon. But it just has a funny story. It does humour well. It's a great, tight RPG with a good battle system. The music is fantastic, which I've said about 7 times now. And those are the kind of games I really spent a lot of time playing. Secret of Mana, Lufia. But also, just throw this out there. I really love Metroidvanias.
Yeah, you definitely like Metroidvanias.
I love them. Even if they're like Batman Arkham Asylum, they're still Metroidvanias and I love them.
Yeah, and you've got a real thing for SNES era games. I think they hold a lot of nostalgia for you. Like SNES RPGs and Metroidvanias and stuff.
I do.
Yeah, like Lufia. Should I tell them the story about Lufia? So I worked in a video games store in the late 90s. And in the back of the store, because this was the transition period, well, not quite a transition period, really. I mean, the N64 and the PlayStation had been out for a bit by this point, maybe 2 years or something. But obviously SNES games were still selling like hotcakes, well, certainly where I worked anyway, because a lot of people couldn't afford new consoles. See, kids, this is what it used to be like. You couldn't afford the new consoles, so you had the old consoles. So most people were still buying SNES games and they would sell like hotcakes because they weren't being produced new anymore. So we used to sell a lot of second-hand SNES games. And anyway, in the back of the store, there were 2 whole unopened boxes of Lufia, the game we just showed you. Now, I didn't know this at the time. In fact, at the time, they probably weren't worth a hell of a lot.
No, probably not.
And then we got together. And then I discovered, thank you,
it's very expensive to
Matthew.
buy a copy of Lufia.
Yeah, that 2 boxes of brand new copies of Lufia could have made us, well, we might have paid off the mortgage to this house.
Oh, no, it's not that. It's not that much. But would it, like, I don't know how many goes in a box, but you can probably, for an unopened copy of Lufia, get $500.
And I mean, this was the box from Nintendo. One was opened and one was unopened with brand new copies. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'd like to get a hold of those right now. That'd be good.
Too late. Long gone.
Find the guy on Facebook and message him and say, hey, do you still have those boxes in your garage?
Oh, my God. I don't even know where those boxes would have gone. Yeah, Frank. Oh, I know. A big regret. He also had a big Donkey Kong Nintendo wall hanging that I tried to steal for the whole time I was there. And I never got away with it. I never managed to do it, and I would love to know where that is now.
Sometimes you gotta let things go, though. Sometimes we had a giant life-size Link from Twilight Princess, and that had to go because it takes up a whole room. Like, what do you do?
Yeah,
I sold it to a lady who said she was going to put it in her library. Isn't that lovely?
That was nice.
Yeah.
It was a
pregnancy.
It was a push present.
Yeah.
It was a push present.
As you do.
I didn't even know push presents existed.
Neither did I until then. But, it's a good one.
Push present.
It's a good one. I mean, mate, women go through a lot giving birth. The least you can do is have a life-size Link.
Push understates it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else is there to say about us? What's unique about us?
What's unique about us? Well,
I'm ridiculously good looking.
Well, what you do in your spare time outside of working and, not doing the housework is, you play Donkey Kong. Anyone who watches this
never heard of it. No.
Would be aware of that.
Just not talk about
that is what you do. I don't do anything like that. I stream from time to time, which I may do it again, but I don't do anything in video games that
I like streaming my games. I like chatting to people while I play. It's good.
Yeah. So you do that's unique. I don't do anything that's unique except for wear, a loud jumper. Should we move on to our last segment?
Was this our last segment? This was the second last segment.
Second last segment. So we're going to try a segment for you called What Came in the Mail from China.
Could be anything. Could be anthrax.
It could be. If you order something from wish.com, it really could be anything.
It could be.
But should we preface this segment by saying that Matthew Tecchio here orders a lot of small packages from China, and he orders them so much that I wrote it into our wedding vows.
Her wedding vows.
My wedding vows. I wrote it in there because it can't be a week without lots of small mysterious parcels arriving on our doorstep from China. And if you want to know about subverting gender roles, I love the fact that our posties, as they arrive at our house, drop stuff off all the time. And they always assume that all these endless parcels are for me. But as it turns out, they're always for him.
It's like when we go to, out for dinner and they give me the beer that you order. And they give the Coke to you, where I'm the one drinking it.
Every time. We order a beer, he orders a Coke. I get the Coke and he gets the beer. Every freaking time.
Yes.
That's okay.
So what did come in the mail recently?
So I know. Now you've actually scaled back on your ordering from China recently.
I've been thinking about it though.
You've been thinking about it. Oh, so that could be for a future segment, is the things he's been thinking about in order. But there is one item he did get in the last week.
I'm going to show it to our viewers,
okay,
and then I'll explain it to the people listening at home.
Okay.
Because visually it's more interesting. This is what I got, and it plugs into electricity. It's a really cheap, nasty degaussing wand. Because sometimes, you've got your arcade monitors, they get a little bit magnetized, and, while they try and demagnetize themselves, sometimes you just need a little bit of power, like, Tim Allen in Home Improvement. So, look, it says something in Chinese on it. Look, it's not in English. I believe it says, if you use it too much, it gets hot and melts, or something like that. That's what one of my bilingual friends said.
Cheap ass sucker.
No. It says ignorant Westerner dog Use this to degauss your screen. In America, they used to make really nice degaussing wands.
But you're not ordering one of those.
No, those are really
You're going to be
expensive.
ordering the cheap shit from China.
Generally, I'm all for ordering quality. But it seems like because of a race to the bottom of the market, only nowadays does the cheapest exist. I ordered it because I have another one that doesn't work because it was ordered cheap from China. And, a couple of years have passed, and for some inexplicable reason, it stopped working. So, yes, I often order things, strange and unusual things in the mail, according to my wife.
I don't know what half of them do. I know what a degaussing one does at least, which...
it degausses.
It degausses. yeah, good. But half the stuff, it's so mysterious about, well, this is a connector cable for this board so that it goes into the second port on the mister.
Oh, the mister's good. We should talk about mister, but not today.
We'll talk about the mister later. You can have your own segment, and it's called...
Mr. Mister?
Mr. Mister. There you go. Yeah. I'll talk about the 80s band. You can talk about the Mister.
Yeah.
The Mister, the gaming... I don't know, what would you call it? It's not a console. It's like an elaborate motherboard. What is it? What would you call a Mister?
A single board computer, an SBC.
An SBC. See, there you go. That's the stuff that he knows that I don't. Again, I can tell you about 80s bands.
It's an FPGA, fully programmable gate array device. I think that's what it stands for, but I've been wrong before, so correct me in the mailbag.
Okay.
They're hot. They're hot, man.
That's good to know. I'm glad that you find it hot.
It's hot.
Yeah. We'll have
Talk to me about FPGAs. Yeah. Anyways, she's right. I order a lot of shit, and sometimes it's funny. So if she deems that one of my parcels is funny enough, we will unravel it here on the podcast in the future.
Yeah. And look, we're going to do some more segments as well about all kinds of funny stuff, hopefully, and interesting stuff. And, maybe we'll also show you some of the things we pick up. We recently went to Japan this year for 6 weeks, and we picked up lots of stuff. Some interesting stuff, some not so interesting. I mean, a lot of coffee mugs.
Yeah, I've got to say, we got a bit too many.
A lot of coffee mugs. I mean, look, it's Jack Frost.
Is this one from Japan too?
That is also from Japan.
Store.
Mm-hmm. That's from the Nintendo store in Japan.
And yours came from like a collector's edition, didn't it?
No, this was, I think it was for sale on Atlas's Japanese website. And I picked it up from a famous Japanese secondhand store we like going to called Suragaya.
Oh, they're good.
Who also ship internationally, if you're interested. But, we like going through all their secondhand stuff. And this was something I picked up, but, unused. Because that's how they roll. They'll buy it and look at it and sell it back. But so we have a lot of gaming mugs. It's a weird affliction.
I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
No. So we're happy to unpack some of that stuff. If you're interested, we'd be really interested in your comments, I guess, and what kind of stuff you'd like us to talk about as well. We can regale you with tales from our past. Mm-hmm. We can tell you about, times long ago. Your nascent gaming adventures from when you were young. Nascent, it is a good word, isn't it? I can tell you about my time working in video games. You can regale us with tales of your working gaming now on Twitch or your competitions that you enter.
Next week, got a big competition coming up. It's very exciting. We'll talk about that after I lose it. So, before we end, there was a segment we wanted to do, and I don't have it prepared, but I can play these things for people. I can edit them in. We want to talk, like every week, we want to just have a little sound bite. A little sound bite that we find either interesting or funny. And we'd like to hear your favourite sound bites. So is there a particular sound bite that you've come across recently or that is stuck in your mind, love, that you'd like the audience to hear?
I get sounds stuck in my head all the time, and for some reason it was last week, I had the announcer guy over the top of Manx TT Superbike stuck in my head. It was rolling around my head for a full week.
Yeah, no, that's
living rent free.
There's plenty over the years that I've had stuck in my head from time to time. You know, I'm very fond of the announcer from like the Street Fighter Alpha games, especially 2 and 3, and he's like, you know, triumph or die. You know,
triumph or die.
Yeah, it just what is it? What does he say? He says things like, go for broke, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, this is Street Fighter Alpha 2, you know. And I'm like, where do you find these guys? What do you tell them? What kind of voice coach do you have sitting there in front of you? Just be a little bit more passionate about the 2, you know. It's like, I love that stuff, and you know, RPGs in particular, there are games where people will just scream out the names of their moves over and over again.
This is exclusively all I seem to play.
Yes, I've got to say.
Is where they announce their moves. And, you know, I just finished playing the new Fire Emblem game recently, Fire Emblem Engage. And apart from the announcing what the game is, just in case you fucking forgot what you were about to play, you know, Fire Emblem Engage. And so, you know, then you'll press it. And then, of course, while they're in the middle of a battle, it's actually Xenoblade does this too. They announce their moves a lot.
It's a classic thing I've noticed.
Yeah.
I was quite fond of one you were playing, one of the Xenoblades, where the guys would go, what would he say? He'd say something about forgetting me. He'd be like, don't forget me.
Oh.
Like that. And I'm like, I can't forget you. I've heard this voice sample about 700 times tonight. And he's like, don't forget me.
Don't forget me.
Think you can take me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the f*** is going on in there?
That was brilliant, I have to admit that one.
They patched it like so he did it less, I'm pretty sure.
They did, because every time you'd fight them, the first thing they'd say, think you can take me.
Don't forget me. Think you can take me.
Yeah, it was like,
I loved that.
I love that kind of stuff. So we're going to try and, you know, 1 or 2 sound bites every week that tickle our fancy.
Yeah. So we've just said a few, but we'll grab one and, you know, we'll play it for you. And, we'd love to hear any particular ones where a shouty person announces the title of a game or announces a move, or just, you know.
Just something that's really stuck in your brain.
Yeah. Something that rolls around in your head for years and years. I mean, I played a fishing game like in the late 90s, and here we are. It is 2023, and I still say largemouth bass, you know, from where I was catching fish in some Japanese fishing game. So we know you might have some of those rolling around your head too.
And so we've got an email address. If you feel bold, please send us an email. It's called theforevergrindpodcast@gmail.com. So
One word.
It's a long string of text. I will put it in the video for anyone who's watching. Please send us feedback, send us ideas, any questions you've got. On top of that, on our way out, we really appreciate that you would spend the time to either listen to or watch this. We don't know if it's going to be any good, so please let us know if it's not.
Well, you know, you can tell us if it's shit. That's okay.
If you want to follow us, you've got an Instagram.
I do. On Instagram and on Twitch, I'm one word, Pons Institute.
The name you can trust. On Twitch, I'm Lyriel, which is Lyriell, and on Instagram, I'm Matt_Techio. I'm sure you can find me probably just by looking at Matt Techio, but look us up, give us a follow, come say hi when we're streaming.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you for the next podcast, and we hope it will be even better.
Bye for now. Take care.
See ya.
Manx TT Superbike.